Hey guys, I want to come on here and talk about demonic Christianity. And let me just put this out there before. I'm not interested in anybody trying to convince me about the goodness that is within Christianity. If there was really a lot of goodness in Christianity, you wouldn't have to be convinced about it. The reality of it is if Christianity was what Black Christians, and only Black Christians, because I understand no other race of Christians really take this seriously, probably because they know that it's not really real. I mean, the bottom line of it is when you get a religion from your colonizer who felt that it was okay and Christ-like to rape, mutilate, torture, murder Black men, women, and babies, skin them alive, rape them in front of their families, tar and feather them, make games out of them, you would have to be out of your mind to really attach yourself to this. But clearly, any group of people that's engaging in those behaviors in the name of the religion, clearly the religion can't be what it is. But the reality of it is, for Black people, this religion is doing exactly what it was supposed to be doing for Black people and for white people. For Black people, it was supposed to make them docile, better slaves to white people. And for white people, it's to make them benefit from it. Now, whether you choose to believe that is on you. Look, I'm not here to change your belief system about a reality that's clearly not true. I'm going to get to this video in a minute, and I want you to see I want you, when I get to this video, to just see how ridiculous and crazy this woman is, okay? And just when you hear her words. And there's been other stories that I've done about the lunacy and the demonic actions from Black Christians. But again, the reality of it is if you choose to believe this, you can believe it. Again, what you believe has no bearings on what is going to happen to my soul. So if you choose to believe in this demonic religion, you have every right to. If you choose to worship a white Jesus, you have every right to. If you choose to ignore the fact that Christianity is a 2,000-year-old religion, it was only in Ethiopia after Ethiopia was invaded. It was not the original Christian religion of Africans. If you want to ignore the historical documents and all the evidence that suggests that, and it doesn't even suggest it, but conclusively proves it. You can do that if you want to. You can believe whatever you want to. Nobody is stopping you. So if you choose to believe in this demonic religion and think that there's somehow good coming out of it, do that by all means. But don't try to convince me. Don't try to advocate for Christianity to me. Don't try to do that, because what will happen is you will just get deleted and blocked. That's the only thing. So now, I don't care, because, and the reason why I don't care is because nobody can present anything, any evidence of anything good coming from Christianity. But I can come on here time and time and time again and show you about some deviltry that's coming from Christianity. And when I say evidence of any good coming from Christianity, I don't mean your delusion that somehow Jesus have saved you or released you from bondage as you sit in a system of white supremacy and beg white people, not Jesus, even although Jesus is the representative of white people, but whatever. As you sit in a system of white supremacy and beg white people to place value on your lives as a Black person. To me, it is a delusion that you could overlook all of that evidence and still think that somehow that Jesus is doing anything for you. If somebody can present me one shred of evidence of anything good that came out of Christianity ever, then maybe you'll be able to plead your case. But as far as now, all I see is a bunch of deviltry. Now, I want to get into this video so I can point out the exact lunacy of what this woman did.
Say, get up, it's Jesus' Day. All she wanted was to go to church. But instead of a pew, this Phoenix mom spent most of Easter in a jail cell.
I don't think I did anything wrong, because you're supposed to put God first. And that's all I was trying to tell my kids, put God first.
But Sharon Dobbins says her sons were putting their friends first. They did not want to go to services here at Greater New Zion Baptist Church. Instead, they wanted to hang out with their buddies all day. So when one of her sons refused to get up and get ready, police say Sharon tased him.
He was like, Mom, I'm calling police. I said, you can call police, UPS, DPS, whoever you want to call. Police were on the phone, and I told dispatcher, I told her, I said, you need to be with Jesus right now.
Sharon telling us she brought the taser out, but only as a threat.
Did you tase your son?
No, I made the noise with the taser, but I did not tase my son.
But Phoenix police say the boy had 2 marks on his left leg. They arrested her and brought her here to the 4th Avenue jail, where she spent 12 hours.
Nobody writes a book on the correct way of parenting.
Now, the 16-year-old boy is out of the house, staying with relatives for the time being. Sharon says she's learned her lesson and hopes her boys have learned theirs.
I told my sons this: honor thy mother, thy father, or the days will be shortened. That's my favorite.
In Phoenix, Nick Saletti, ABC 15, Arizona.
I said, get up, it's Jesus Day.
Now, I want y'all to see the lunacy in that. I want y'all to see the lunacy in it. First of all, she's sitting there lying. Secondly, she doesn't even look like she washed her face because she has crust on her neck and her face. Look at her mouth and her teeth. She looks like she's an ex-drug addict that Jesus wouldn't have helped her to not be. She's sitting there tasing her kid and then lying about it. Because the reality of it is, when you tase someone, tasing someone leaves marks, okay? And I'm going to side with the police on this one because they carry tasers, they use tasers, so clearly they would clearly know what the marks are from somebody who tased their kids versus not. It's not likely that she would sit here and simply take a taser out and then not tase her kids, because no kid is going to care if you take the taser out if you're not tasing them. I believe she did tase her kid. And I think it's really interesting in the mindset of Black people that they'll sit there and use the Bible to enforce child abuse on their own children, but they will overlook this abuse that white people subject their entire communities to. Because that Bible also says you need to drive out demons and there's a time to kill, and that you need to destroy nations of people and everything that they touch who are demonic. And yet they don't do those. They won't go by those in terms of the system of white supremacy. But if the child doesn't want to go to church, then she feels like the Bible condones her tasing her children because they don't want to go to church. And she really thinks that this is going to be beneficial to her kids in the long run. Because ultimately, that kid is going to grow up, and what's going to happen is he's going to associate, and rightfully so, evil with Christianity. Okay? That's just the reality of it. Now, they said that she was arrested after using a stun gun to wake her kid for Sunday service, which rightfully so, and hopefully she'll do some prison time. Talking about get up is Jesus Day. Phoenix police say 40-year-old Sharon Dobbins contact tased her son on the leg in order to wake him up. This is Christianity. And we already know Black people will sit here and they'll defend this and they'll say, oh, well, you know nothing about Christianity. Clearly you don't either, because you can't even give one example of anything good beyond the delusion in your mind that has come from Christianity. And nobody can. Like I said, if you want to overlook all of the evidence, if you want to sit here and cling to this delusion that you call faith and say that Jesus has somehow delivered you out of bondage and you're free, although you're sitting in a system of white supremacy, you can't do whatever you want to, and you're fearing white people taking your life regardless of Jesus' existence, that is on you. You can do that. Because the reality of it is if you really believed in Jesus and you really believed Jesus was powerful, you wouldn't cower and you wouldn't submit to white supremacy. And that's just the reality. You can say Jesus is this and Jesus is that, but clearly white supremacy is stronger and more powerful than Jesus, because white supremacy is dictating your life and choosing whether you live or die. And Jesus is doing nothing about that. Not delivering you from the system of white supremacy, but helping to implement the system of white supremacy in your continued bondage. We've seen many different stories about them beating people, starving them, black people, collecting bills for tithes that they shouldn't be getting. The only thing that comes out of Christianity is exploitation and deviltry. That's just the reality. Again, you can put your personal anecdotal delusions on here as evidence. That doesn't count as evidence. You have a black woman that's sitting here looking mentally ill, talking about she doesn't feel like there's anything wrong. Even if she didn't tase her kid, the fact that she took a taser out and threatened to tase her kid, that's wrong. But in her lunatic mind, nothing's wrong. Talking about she only flashed its light and made it spark in order to warn her 16-year-old child. Really? Phoenix police say they found 2 marks on the teen's leg and took Dobbins into custody. Dobbins spent 12 hours in jail on Easter. Too bad she didn't spend more. And look at the nasty crust and dirt on her face. Just disgusting. Like, I can't. I just can't. He was like, Mom, I'm calling the police. I said, you can call the police, UPS, DPS, whoever you want to call. Police were on the phone, and I told the dispatcher, I told her, you need to be with Jesus right now. This is a mental illness. Police records show Dobbins was charged with 1 account of child abuse with intent to harm. Now, why is Jesus not stopping her from being arrested of child abuse? If all she was doing is telling her kid, oh, you need to be with Jesus, shouldn't Jesus be protecting her from legal course of action? Shouldn't she have not spent 12 hours in a jail cell on account of her simply trying to get her kid to put God first? I don't think I did anything wrong because we're supposed to put God first. And that's all I was trying to do is tell my kids to put God first. With a taser, though. So it and the funny thing is she sounds like the slave owners. Because you can read multiple different slave narrative books, and according to the white supremacists who were beating and brutalizing the slaves, all they were doing is trying to get their slaves to obey their masters in accordance to what the Bible says. How is she any different? She's not. She's not any different. And that's the thing. This is what black people were conditioned to do and to be and how to behave in accordance to that religion that they're serving. Is to make people better submissive slaves. Now understand, she's submitting to the system of white supremacy. And she's trying to get her children to submit to the system of white supremacy. But what she's not doing is taking that same aggression and applying it to getting out of oppression. Because what she'll submit to that. And then she's teaching her kids to submit too. And that's what slaves were doing. Slaves were teaching their children to submit to the white oppressors in accordance to that slave religion that they were giving. This is sickening. This is ridiculous. It doesn't do anything beneficial. Again, if anybody can find one piece of evidence that of anything beneficial Christianity has done for anybody other than white supremacists. One piece of evidence. And the thing is, they can get in all your comments. They can quote Bible scriptures. They can dance around facts. But what they can't tell you is one thing that Christianity has done beneficial for the black community. That's what they can't tell you. They can sit there and tell you, oh, Jesus saved me personally, but they can't tell you why Jesus hasn't saved them from being in a system of white supremacy. And if you do ask them, they'll start deflecting by saying, oh, well, Jesus doesn't intervene in human affairs. Yeah, I thought so. Whenever you start to ask them about tangible proof, then they start deflecting and saying, oh, well, Jesus don't do this. Clearly, Jesus doesn't do anything except help white people maintain white supremacy, implement and maintain white supremacy. That's clearly. How is she not a mammy? How is she not the very definition of a mammy? Because I promise you, she's even taken them to a church that has a picture of a white man on it. That's a mammy. And black people will sit here wrapped up in this delusion and ignore this. Because again, there's no logic And if any of them want to come with some logic, by all means, come with some logic and explain to me, provide me some tangible proof of what Jesus has done to benefit the Black community, and why hasn't Jesus liberated you from a system of white supremacy? Why is it that Jesus seems to be helping white supremacists thrive, but for some reason, Jesus can't possibly care about Black people that much? He still has them in a system of white supremacy. Can't pray that away, can't sacrifice that away. Doesn't matter how many times you beat your children and take them to church or tase them or murder them, Jesus ain't coming. Jesus ain't coming for nobody but white supremacists, apparently. They have a different version of Christianity than Black people do. Neither one of them is beneficial. And let's just say hypothetically it was in Ethiopia. Let's just say hypothetically it was your religion in Ethiopia. It still doesn't explain why the existence of this religion came after the existence of people. Still doesn't explain why it's not doing anything beneficial for the Black community in Ethiopia or otherwise, because it's not doing anything beneficial. Ethiopians are still being oppressed. You can say that it wasn't colonized. Okay, that's fine. They're still being oppressed by white supremacy. They still have white supremacists in there raping their country. Why isn't Jesus doing anything to stop that? Again, this is what you would call religious psychosis. And if you think that that's not a clinical psychological term, go look it up. What religious psychosis is, this would fit the description of religious psychosis. Black people in general, Black Christians, fit the description of religious psychosis because they're seeing Jesus do things that nobody else is seeing happen. It's delusion in their mind. They're seeing evidence of some type of something substantial that this religion is bringing. Reality is saying that it's not. So they're not even not even close to reality. But this is a sickening story, and you'll still have Black people defending Christianity. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you for your support. I'll see you in the next one.